Donald's Deadly Doll Emporium is proud to bring you this week's episode of Horror Movie Talk. Looking for that perfect gift for an at-risk youth? Why not a doll? Donald's Deadly Doll Emporium has every doll you can possibly imagine. We have doll types ranging from malevolent but harmless looking to so obviously dangerous that no one would ever keep this in their house. Best of all, these dolls are guaranteed to help your child work through any attachment issues or insecurities that they may have from trauma or terror. They are absolutely the most wonderful thing you could do for your kid. Because death is the ultimate cure to everything that ails you. Oops, I said the loud part quiet and the quiet part loud. Donald's Deadly Doll Emporium. Don't let the name fool you. Most of these dolls are only PG-13. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny Hoodie Picasso review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hansen, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm David Day.
I'm Bryce Hansen.
You guys, thank you for joining us today on All Hallows Day of Horror Movie Talk. We will be, before I get into what we're going to be talking about today, you've probably seen it in the name of the podcast episode. You should check us out at our website. That's www.horrormovietalk.com. There's no dot after the W's. Also, you can check us out from there. You can check us out on social media. You know, we're on all of them. And we post new episodes every single Wednesday, so make sure you subscribe and leave a rating on Apple Podcasts, because that really helps us out. We're thinking about going to our local Apple store and like soliciting people directly for like handing out stickers and being like, give us 1 star on Apple Podcasts. And they'll be like, fuck you, buddy. And then
fuck you, I'll give you 5 stars.
Yeah.
I'll show them.
And then we'll be like, yes. So today we've got a great show for you guys. We will be talking about Brahms the Boy 2.
Brahms the Boy 2.
Oh, boy. And
or as the ticket seller said, Brahms Boy.
Brahms Boy.
You going to see Brahms Boy?
Yes, I am. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge where it makes you angry that you had to watch it, 5 being an average enough film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good that it transcends genre boundaries and should probably win an award, but it won't because it's a horror movie. After that, we'll give our score for the movie and get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. Later in this episode, we will be doing a special edition, the second edition, of Ben Warrington's Horror Movie News. Dun, dun, dun. You might remember him from the super sexy British voice that he has in a couple episodes ago. Color Out of Space, maybe? No.
Maybe we need to do a new news intro based on Hail Britannia.
Oh, that would be cool.
Ben Warrington. It's Ben Warrington's news. We'll just cut that out and use that as the...
Yeah, use that in true horror movie talk fashion. Like I said, we saw Brahms the Boy 2 in theaters, and it was so bland and unfulfilling that I question whether or not I want to spend my free time reviewing movies of this caliber. As soon as I asked myself that question, I realized that the answer is obviously yes. I need to watch these boring hunks of junks to make sure that you don't have to. So
it's a service that we provide.
It is. So with that, let's get into the trailer.
Jude, I'm home. Jude. Gotcha.
It's fun to be scared sometimes, huh?
It's bad.
It's just a dome.
It's pretty violent. I understand that some of Jude's behaviors would be upsetting, but I urge you to find a place where he feels safe. I think it will be good for him. Good for all of us.
Oh my goodness, look at that. That must be the main house. Come on, Jude.
Yes.
Looks like he was broken before and put back together.
Who's this handsome chap?
Brahms.
How'd you come up with that?
He tells me all sorts of things.
You okay?
I just think it's all a little bit creepy.
Is this your new friend, Brahms? What are some of the things you talk about?
The other families he's lived with.
Want to take the doll away from him?
Yes.
It's just a whisper first.
Something is happening to him.
He knew your boy would find him.
Love you, Mommy.
I love you.
So scary.
That was the same spot that made you jump in the theater.
I know.
Boy ain't right.
Yeah, that boy ain't right.
There's something about having the jump in the theater in a moment that's in the trailer, and you're like, God damn it!
Hang on.
What am I? Some kind of rube?
I got to get this out of my system before we keep going.
Mother of God, it's all toilet sounds. Where did you record this?
I bought it at the mall. It's the funny phone jerks.
Let me tell you,
Funny
Bobby,
phone
there's
jerks.
nothing funny about these sounds. What that person on your tape has is a medical disorder. Now you get ready for the game, okay?
Yes, sir.
That boy ain't right.
That boy ain't right at all. This boy ain't right.
You know, I was supremely disappointed because I was expecting a documentary on the early life of a German composer.
Yeah, no, that's a big, like, from expectation to what you really get, that's a big letdown.
And I'm sure that a documentary about the childhood of Brahms, the composer, would probably be way more interesting than this
Oh
movie.
my God, are you kidding me? I'd kill to see that instead of this. The Boy 2 is a standalone sequel to the somewhat more interesting movie The Boy from 2016, which you can currently watch on Amazon if you click through the link in our write-up for this. It was directed by William Brent Bell, who has been directing horror movies like The Devil Inside and the original The Boy from 2016. This is the story of a family of three. Liza, played by Katie Holmes. Sean, played by Owen Yeoman. and their son, Christopher Convery. Jude, who's played by Christopher Convery, that escapes to the countryside to heal after a burglary gone wrong at their house in London.
One of my greatest disappointments in this movie is that at no time does the mom yell out, "Hey, Jude."
I know. I was waiting for it. I had my arm cocked and loaded with a spring to go smack you in the face and be like, "You hear what she said?" She never did it.
It doesn't happen.
She never
And that's
did
probably the most
intentional part of this movie.
interesting part about the movie is it really puts you on the edge of your seat hoping that they're going to say, "Hey, Jude."
Hey, Jude.
They never do.
They are calling
Spoilers,
for him.
sorry.
They're calling for him constantly. Yeah,
I
you're
know.
getting ahead of us. Jude, the young son, stops talking following the attack when the family shows up, and when the family shows up at the guest house on the Heelshire estate where the original The Boy took place, he finds a doll buried in the woods. The doll and Jude share a lot in common, not talking, staring blankly at whoever addresses them, generally being boring, and desiring to kill whole families. Through a notepad that Jude uses to communicate, we learn that the doll is named Brahms, and he has a bunch of rules for the family to follow. You would be surprised at how stringent these rules are. So they are broken often, and the family is thrown into an uproar each and every time. Eventually, we find out that Brahms is more dull than this family bargained for. Oh, Brahms the Boy 2 is a sincerely boring movie that does everything technically correct on paper. Casting, acting, pacing, direction, it's all passable. The end result is as boring as sin, though. At least movies like Fantasy Island are so zany that they are fun in an ironic way. Brahms the Boy 2 bored me to tears, and I don't believe that you should ever watch it. My score is 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
3 out of 10.
I've been having been forced to write about this fucking thing has just annoyed me to no end, because it was just Melba toast.
I mean, see, the thing is you're ruined by every other scary puppet / doll movie that came before this.
Yeah,
so,
I guess.
I mean, it's as good as all of those, really.
No.
Well, maybe the Annabelle ones are a little better because they go beyond just the
Chucky's
doll.
better. Dolls is better. Everything's better than this. This is just boring.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I did not have... I mean, I was right in the middle. I wasn't bored, but I wasn't engaged.
Hey, that's fair.
It was like, this is a movie.
Yeah.
And this is exactly the movie that I expected. Yeah. No surprises whatsoever.
I don't know. I feel...
And I put it just at the right middle of the lane at a 5.
Listen, I cannot understand you. It's crazy. You're a fool. I can't cope with the stupid bitching. Stupid bitching.
I think the one thing that saves it from getting a lower score for me is that it does not outstay its welcome. It's a pretty short movie.
Yes.
And it gets it done, lets you move on with your life.
Yeah, I think it is something like 86 minutes, which I mentioned it, I think, in my write-up, and not so much in this review that I'm going to be giving with my voice, but they pad so much of this movie with this fucking kid who can't talk, so he has to put pencil to paper and write on a pad. So there's 10 seconds every single time that the kid wants to talk. It's just padded and stupid.
But David, the anticipation
of seeing the dumb thing. Brahms says he's mad at you. Okay, kid, whatever. So 5 out of 10 from Bryce, 3 out of 10 from me. It's probably a fair score to go 4 out of 10, somewhere in the middle. I don't know. Whatever. If you know how we feel about things, you can gauge. So with that, if you guys enjoyed the show, you should consider becoming a supporter through one of many methods that you have to support our show. The best of which is Patreon. If you become a patron on Patreon, you get access to a bunch of fucking horror movie talk exclusives, including a whole nother podcast that we record right after this one. We just leave the mics rolling and we talk about all sorts of embarrassing, weird things that come up in therapy or maybe a discussion we had with our dad that was supremely unfulfilling.
I mean, he's not lying.
Yeah,
that is pretty much the daily or the weekly horror movie podcast therapy session.
Yeah, it's great. And you can also, unlock exclusives like listening to this episode, way earlier than you would normally on a Wednesday. Like, for example, this one is probably going to be available 5 days before Wednesday on a Saturday. So you could even hit it that evening if you want to see the movie that same weekend.
So check it out on our Patreon page, patreon.com/horror movie talk, and just check out all the different levels of support.
Yeah, and if you would like to support the show in a little bit more passive way, any single time you want to buy anything on Amazon or rent anything on Amazon, you just head on over to our website, horrormovietalk.com. and click the link at the top of the banner that says buy stuff on Amazon, and a little taste of whatever you buy will be sent to us, and it's not an insubstantial amount. It's enough to make a difference to us. So we sure do appreciate when you do that. Also, make sure to check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He is a professional artist who fucks really, really, really hard.
With that Teflon dick of his.
Yeah, that Teflon dick. Once you build up enough friction on your dick, you get that Teflon status. And his dick sheds all STDs.
See, I thought it was the opposite. I thought it'd get just more chafed and rough like a oil worker's hands.
That's someone who quits halfway. Like yes, it does. Yeah. In the process of achieving the Teflon dick status, you definitely suffer some losses. But if you hold out long enough, you achieve Dustin Goebel status. You can contact him at DGOEBEL00. That's at DGoebel00 on Instagram to make your artistic dreams come true. Make sure to tell him that HMT sent you, or just comment on his stuff. Just be like, HMT fucking rules, and and he'll appreciate that. Mm-hmm. So another way you can help support the show, or kind of a service that we give to all our listeners, is a Shudder promo code. If you enter HMT at checkout, when you go through Shudder.com's checkout, you will receive 30-day free access to tons of streaming horror movies, shows, docs, all kinds of good shit. And yeah, so, check out Shudder and enter HMT at checkout if you would like to take advantage of that offer. Thanks again, all of you, for listening, and let's get into spoilers. This is it. This is spoilers. Oh,
the French.
The lack of care we have about this movie is infecting our lack of care with this episode.
It's really how is it, like, it's kind of coming through in the amount of. It's hard to get amped about a movie like this.
Yeah.
It just feels so boring.
It's just like looking at wallpaper.
Yes, it's just like looking at wallpaper and you're like, I don't know, it's a 5.
Yeah.
It made me angry. It did make me angry. Tom Cruise's ex, who I will consistently be referring to her as that, and Jude.
So Nicole Kidman?
No. Oh, yeah, she's the ex, too. No, she's old news.
Katie Holmes.
Yeah, Katie Holmes. Tom Cruise's ex and Jude start out the movie at home, alone in London. And there's some tension that's built around, the boy scaring his mom. And
so first of all, it starts out, and I was confused because she walks in and the alarm goes off, and she turns off the alarm. I'm like, why would you set the alarm if the kid's already inside?
No, the alarm doesn't go off when she walks in. That's what alarm systems do. They warn you that the alarm's about to go off, and so they go beep, 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 and you got to punch in your code before 30 seconds.
Why would you set the alarm if your son's already home?
Well, you can set it in at-home status, so all the motion detectors aren't active, and it's just all the door switches.
Okay.
Yeah, see,
shows what I know.
I used to install home security systems, so I know a thing or two, Bryce. It's,
okay, all right.
It's a complex system that not everyone understands completely. So I'll forgive your lack of knowledge in the area. And then there's a break-in, a super generic break-in by some super generic. I'm up here, big boy. Look over here. Look at me.
I'm zoning out.
I know
already.
These super generic, just goons break into the house. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? Goons. Who? Hired goons. Okay, well, oh no.
It's like if there was a really boring Batman villain and just had the most generic goons.
The goon. Yeah. It was weird. It was almost. Do you remember like the 90s Batman movies where it almost said kapow in the movie in like
the
an
Joel Schumacher ones.
Yeah, in like an ironic way. It was the whole scene was like, whoa, it felt very like that. Like,
I don't know. I mean, it felt kind of real to me. Like it felt like a good dilemma to have, to where it was a real traumatic experience for those two.
Yeah.
Like it was believable for me. It wasn't over the top. The fact that there'd be masked goons breaking into a house is a little. I'm not sure how much that happens. Yeah, but if you are living in a really decent like condo in London, there's probably plenty of stuff to steal, so maybe it's worth it.
They had black beanies on, they had baklavas, they had, they were fully blacked out. It was like the stereotype definition of a burglar. Like the only thing they lacked was like a money bag over their shoulder.
Yeah.
That had a little money sign on it.
It's like, I mean, it's the burglars that you would see in a security system commercial.
I'm still thinking about you like spacing out. You like looking off into nothing. Like bored to tears.
They're like the most generic robbers. It's like if you see, on any security or insurance commercial, it's the white guy with stubble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It has to be. No burglar on TV can be anything other than white. Ever. Obviously. Mm-hmm. I can't get over you having that like 1,000-yard stare.
I'm just looking at my daughter's Care Bears DVD or something.
Oh, man.
Okay. Moving on.
So at this point in the movie, the mom and Jude experience some extreme trauma due to this break-in, and Jude goes mute. He stops talking, which I don't really see as a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the after effects of the PTSD of seeing his mom bludgeoned over the head is that he goes mute and goth.
Yes.
That's the effects of it.
Yeah, and I don't think that's too much of a problem in this movie, because every time this kid talks, his acting chops show, and they are not there. He's much better as a brooding.
I don't know. It wasn't too distracting for me.
No, it wasn't, because they kept him quiet. Every time he talked, though, like towards the end of the movie when he was talking again, and he was like, "Pass the peas, please." Like, oh, okay, this is dumb.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't get over the fact that it wasn't just that he couldn't speak. It was he turned into full like Edgar Allan Poe, like it had like an Edgar Allan Poe haircut all of a sudden. He's like, I'm real moody now. Yeah, and he'd flip his hair like the goth kids in South Park. Yeah, he was clearly cast because of his striking similarity to the doll and his deadpan stare, which were both good. Like, his similarity to the doll, spot on. Right. Also, his deadpan stare, very good. Very Edgar Allan Poe-y. Mm-hmm. So this starts putting a certain amount of pressure on the marriage, because Tom Cruise's ex is frigid, and she, that's why Tom Cruise dumped her. Dump that bitch. Who is that? Is that Tom Likas? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's pressure on the marriage because, first of all, she's frigid after the precision attack on her, and then also Jude isn't talking, so they're just stressed out in general, and they decide to move to the house in the middle of kind of the countryside. And as soon as they get to this house, Dad says to the family,
I vote we try a little nature exploration.
Except in a British accent, because he's super British.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like it was
that was his line that he said. I vote we try a little nature exploration. And it was
he says it really excitedly. It was a line that felt like a placeholder. They're like, they put that line in brackets, like, we'll come back and change that later into something more interesting other than, I don't know, maybe we can ask Ben, is this a thing, the phrase nature exploration, as opposed to like, let's go outside, hike in the woods? I don't know what you would say that would elicit that amount of enthusiasm about walking around on the grounds of a mansion. Yeah, it was so nature exploration. So in the course of their next nature exploration, they find, well, I should say Jude stumbles upon just a hand, a little tiny doll-sized hand sticking out of the ground in the woods, and it's just kind of, it's like the classic hand pose of like a zombie reaching out of the grave kind of thing. And so he, obviously he uncovers the doll, and then he's got a doll, and then the doll's like, Brahms is his name, and he is truly one of the most uninspired and generic horror movie dolls that I've ever seen. He's just a doll. There's nothing to this doll. Oh, like a Victorian, like, porcelain faced doll.
Yeah. But there's like no hook, there's never any hook with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's the hook that they chose is that he's just kind of creepy sitting there, and then he turns his head.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is at least like, okay, so Chucky is a kid's, like a classic kid's toy doll, right? He's like the My Buddy thing. And so that's pretty generic, right? But he makes up for it because he has the personality, the soul of a serial killer inside him. So that's his hook.
Right.
He's interesting by virtue of the thing that he does, which is brutally murder and kill people. And he says ridiculous stuff that a little doll should never say. Or Annabelle. You would never have that weird looking doll in your house ever in the Annabelle movies. Right? You would never have that in your house, period. Because it's just, you'd burn that. Because that's its hook. This doll is just so blah. And it doesn't do anything interesting. It doesn't look interesting. It's just a fucking doll that is meant to sit there and stare at you. And menace is drawn from the stairs, I guess.
Oh, man, I just remembered. So there's another podcast, The Scariest Things, run by Eric Lee. And then he has me on his Facebook messaging group. And there's like a couple in there that have a side business that sells haunted dolls. I'll have to find the YouTube clip and we can post it on this post, but they find these dolls that are just like kind of super creepy and old, and the people are like, yeah, these dolls are haunted. I'm like, can you? And so they like buy these dolls up from people that say that they're haunted, and then they rehome them with people that want creepy dolls. Wow. Like, so this would be one of those. Man, that would be a movie, wouldn't it?
That is a movie.
The Creepy Doll Emporium, just like the commercial in the beginning. Donald's
Deadly Doll Emporium. Yes, by the way, Donald's Deadly Doll Emporium, thank you very much for sponsoring this episode.
20% off with HMT code at checkout.
Yeah, that would be a great movie. Color me impressed.
Yeah, anyways.
Oh my God. Last episode, we said we could potentially write a movie better than Fantasy Island. And I think we just came up with the premise.
Yeah, I'm not sure we could do better than Fantasy Island, but I think we could definitely do better than Brahms the Boy, too.
I think we could do better than Fantasy Island.
Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, yeah. It's like that's a real high bar. Like, I don't know, David. It's got to make sense at the end. It sounds hard. So...
We didn't mention the groundskeeper at all.
Yeah.
So the groundskeeper is played by the same actor that was the father in The Witch.
Right. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
How far have you fallen? And he carries around a shotgun at all times.
At all times.
And I'm not sure that's accurate to England. I don't think they're like big gun people unless they're
enthusiasts
hunting or shooting quail or something. But he was literally carrying it every time you see him. Yeah. I mean, it's like cocked open or whatever. So you can't like shoot it, but
it's one of those ones that that is loaded by like cracking it in half.
Yeah. Seems excessive.
Yeah, it does seem a little excessive, but it's also pretty on the nose. Like, this is the English countryside. We are sportsmen and gentlemen.
Dressed to the nine in tweed.
Yeah, tweed everywhere.
And he had a dog that followed him around.
Yeah, he had a German Shepherd. And Brahms does not like this dog. The dog barks at him. Brahms just decides to tell the boy, hey, Jude, I don't like this dog. And so Jude and Brahms, they get a thing against the dog. So... let's just put it this way. If you were to go to that site, doesthedogdie.com, the answer would be yes. The dog ends up dead in this. You don't get to see the dog death, but you do get to see the dog dead. So you get to see the mutilated corpse of the dog. Mm-hmm. At this point, Jude takes the boy, Brahms, home. And, he sleeps with him and he starts doing creepy things. The doll compiles a list of rules that's like, you got to give me head pats and like head scratches and you got to give me kisses.
You got to read me a story every night and give me a kiss before bed.
Never cover my face.
No guests.
No guests. Always give me food at the dinner table. Always.
But I mean, the boy or the doll is a real bad influence on Jude. Mostly in terms of foppishness.
What's foppishness?
He turns into a real dandy. Like he starts wearing suits and like little like schoolboy ties.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden he goes.
He cleans up. Yeah.
He has the Edgar Allan Poe haircut, but then he goes like full on like turn of the century fop.
Yeah. Yeah. Fop. I'm a Dapper Dan man.
So I mean that's the worst part of if this doll infiltrates your family, it's going to take your son, he's going to turn him into a dandy and he's going to separate him from your family.
What is a dandy exactly? Or a fop? I've never heard that term. I've heard dandy.
Dandy is like, you just like
it definitely has a little bit of a ring to it, if you know what I'm saying.
I'm trying to think of some examples. So
Martin on The Simpsons,
Paul F. Tompkins, maybe a little, and what's the other Paul? He's the director. I mean, just wearing it's a guy that wears like vintage suits all the time, has a mustache, and wears like leather bottomed shoes at all times.
So me,
yeah.
And then the mom, or I should say Tom Cruise's ex, finds in Jude's bed a little mutilated stuffed doll, like this little stuffed bear. And she's like, come on, boy, I know you did this. And he's like, no, I didn't. Brahms did. Well, he doesn't say it. He writes it down over a 15-second period. He's like, I did not tear the doll apart. It was Brahms. And she's like, come on, Brahms, the doll, he ripped it apart. Come on. I know you did it. Go to your room. And at this point, he's forced to leave his doll alone on the couch. And she's kind of, in the room with Brahms, and she starts having a staring contest with this thing. She's like,
boogie, boogie, boogie.
boogie, boogie. And the doll doesn't move. In standard, boring doll fashion, the doll sits there and is like, I got a good game face.
Yeah, the doll only moves in moments where they want to make it seem really creepy. Like, ooh, it could move at all times, but it's not.
Yes. So at this point when she's like getting creeped out by the doll's kind of alone in the room with her. She goes into the other room, but she can kind of still see the doll. This is the most exciting part of the whole movie to me, because you hear the doll get up, run into the bedroom, and lock the door behind him. So you hear pat, 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 slam. And at that point, I was, and if they'd have kept doing things like that, if the doll had kept getting up and moving around and stuff, that would have been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they really put themselves in a hard place using the creepy doll, haunted doll trope. It's been done so many times that, like, if you do anything interesting, you're just copying someone else. So if it actually shows the boy running around, it's like, oh, well, we've seen this in Child's Play.
Yeah.
If it never moves, you're like, oh, well, this is Annabelle.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's...
Well, your doll can move, and that's, your doll can move, and you're not necessarily copying Child's Play. It's just a creepy doll movie. At this point, it's its own, almost its own, it is its own subgenre.
My skin's a-tingling just thinking about this spooky tale.
Yeah, so that's, in my opinion, that's like the best part of the movie, and it's such a throwaway. So what happens is, like I said, he gets up, runs into the boy's room. She runs over there. She thinking it's her son, who ran out, got the doll, and brought it back into his own room, and then locked the door behind him. But as she's knocking on the door, let me in, Jude. Why'd you take that doll? Blah, blah, blah. I told you to be in your room, blah, blah, blah. Then
Jude, open the door, you goddamn dandy.
Yeah. Get over here, you fucking fop.
Sick and tired of your foppishness.
So as she's screaming these insults and slurs at her child shows up down the hall, and he's like, "What's up, Mom? I had to get a glass of water." And she's like, "Well, if you're not in your room, who is?" And then the door's magically unlocked, and there's the doll sitting inside.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention, but at some point, Jude stops being mute because the doll is that was the one benefit of the doll, and why they didn't immediately throw it away, because that Jude started talking to it, and they could hear him through the door, and eventually Jude would start talking to them again. So he overcame his muteness, but not his foppishness.
So that's kind of like. If they'd have kept going with that line, of the doll doing things and kind of being generally moving aroundy, creepy, I'd been a little bit more pleased with this movie.
I mean, they try to end it with going more into the backstory of the doll and how much it's haunted other families, but they don't do it in a way that's really interesting. It's like, oh, this is they handle it the same way a procedural cop show would, just lots of screens of a computer looking at past newspaper clippings.
Yeah.
Of like, a creepy doll is, was associated with an entire family murder.
Yeah.
It's like,
okay.
Hey, you think after like 10 families, someone would notice like, yeah, that's that same goddamn doll.
What about the doll in the background of that photo? And that photo. Oh, and
they always mention a doll in the newspaper clipping, too.
Yeah, something about a doll being the only left survivor.
The boy told everyone that the doll made him do it. Just like the previous 4 families. What a bunch of retards.
You said the R word.
Oh, shoot.
So at this point, I'm going to take a brief interlude in our review to talk about the fucking bitches in our theater who are just blah, 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 blah. I was like, hey, bitches, I'm trying to concentrate on Brahms the Boy too. I got to review this piece of shit so other people know to stay away from it. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. They were full volume talking almost at one point.
Yeah, I was surprised that you asked the
manager.
Ushers. Did the ushers ever go up there? I only saw people come in and peek in.
Yeah, he peeked in. He was a kid. He was the manager or the manager in charge. But he was very respectful towards me, but it was sometimes you get like a 40 or 50-year-old man who's like has very strong awareness of exactly what to do and how to handle things. This guy was a little overly, he was excited. And so, I was just like, hey man, this is my first move. If you're talking in the theater, if you're being a general annoyance in the theater, fuck you. Okay? That's fuck you. And
I think we're probably general annoyances in the theater sometimes.
I feel like when we started this show, yeah, but I think we've settled ourselves. We were so excited, and it's clear that these girls were too. And if I've ever been that guy, fuck me. Like that's a really dick move. And
I think, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I'm normally pretty bothered by that too. In this circumstance, I could not give two fucks about this movie. So I was like,
yeah, but I had
don't
to
really care. Yeah, you had to like write and stuff and pay attention, and they were pretty far behind us. They're like way in the back, and we were like closer to the front. So I was like, I can tell they're talking, but I just don't care.
It's just one of those things that bothers the shit out of me. And anyway, so my first move is always go talk to a manager right away. Like, just as soon as you're like, oh, this could be a problem, just go be like, hey, manager, there's a thing. So anyway, I said to him, there's some bitches in the back of the thing, and they're doing the thing. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go write it. And he starts taking off to go talk to him. Like, before I even have gotten a chance to come back in and sit down, I was like, hey, whoa. Just, give me like 10 minutes. Let me go back in, sit down, and then, maybe come in and see if it's, there's no timer on this. You just come back. And I think they figured, because as soon as I got back, they had pretty much quieted down. So thank you, you dumb bitches. Thank you for quieting down and not making that young man have to come and put gags on you or something. I don't know what happens after that. But then if that doesn't work, I resort to full on, fuck you! Shut the fuck up! I'll get there. Like, I'll yell at them in the theater. It hasn't happened in a long time. For the most part, all of my theater experiences for a couple of years now have been pretty good. So, good streak broken by these dumb bitches. Don't talk in movie theaters. Don't be a jerk. Anyway, now we just have a series of dumb bullshit that Brahms pulls off. So there's a few stare downs between Tom Cruise's ex and the doll, one of which resulted in Bryce being just a basic bitch.
Yeah.
She's staring at the doll, and you can see it in the trailer.
Everything interesting that happens in the movie ends up being Katie Holmes' dream.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Like, that was an actual scary thing. Oh, well, it didn't happen.
Yeah, it didn't really
It didn't actually happen, so.
This movie, this and The Turning, man, just ugh.
Let's get through this.
So the bugs came out of his mouth, and it was a jump scare. Then just general spooky shit.
It ramps up slowly. The doll gains more power and has greater hold on Jude.
She takes a look at Jude's book that he uses to draw and express himself to the family, and there's a bunch of illustrations of mutilation of family and friends and dogs. And
I wish they would have at some point panned over to Jude's bookshelf and just showed it completely full of these notebooks, because he wastes an entire page on writing 2 words.
Yeah.
It's like he must go through those legal pads two an hour.
Yeah, man. And where are you getting those things? Like, no one's going to the store that I can see. It seems like we're pretty far away from any place you could get some legal pads at. There's some funny moments in this movie, like how helicopter parenty the parents are when she's like, I mean, they're way out in the countryside. There's nothing to do. The kid goes outside alone. And when Tom Cruise's ex sees that her boy's outside alone, she yells to her husband, "You allowed Jude outside alone?" And it's like, what the fuck is it? He's like 11.
Yeah.
I feel
within view of the window.
Within view of the window, like he's not like he. I hope my kids experience at least some of my childhood, like the aspects of my childhood where I just roamed around.
You see, the difference is you just can't trust a dandy to be out in the woods alone. They're just not equipped for it.
She knew what he was.
He'd like stub his toe and be like, "Oh no, I have a scuff on my penny loafer."
You know,
and then he'll like try to buff it out, but he can't find leaves that are soft enough, and then he'll just die of exposure out there.
Tom Cruise's ex really understands that you need traction in the woods, and leather is not that.
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, leather sole's bad for traction in the woods.
Everything that happens in this movie that's of any interest whatsoever in terms of scares is covered in the trailer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Except for the table flip.
Yeah, the table flip.
Brahms flips a whole gigantic full oak table, and because they're not feeding him food.
You know what would have been really interesting, especially with a sequel to a movie that features the same doll, is that what if they had it that Jude actually did all of it?
Oh.
That the doll wasn't evil at all. He's just like some creepy kid trying to get away with shit.
Yeah.
just happened to be the exact same doll as the former movie.
That'd be good.
That would have been a twist, but
take an otherwise boring movie and make it slightly interesting.
And then the real twist is Groundskeeper Willie's the evil guy.
Yeah. Kind of. He's the boy from the previous family, and he set him up. The doll told him to bury him so that the other little boy could find him. And it's so convoluted.
It's all a setup. And then the end happened.
Well, I mean, I do like the part where the dick cousin got his.
Oh yeah.
The cousins came over, and they were he was giving Jude a hard time for, being a dandy.
Yeah, the dick cousin was straight out of like a 90s fantastical children's movie, like from Matilda or something.
Or the Never-Ending Story, the jerks from the Never-Ending Story, put them in the trash can. Yeah, so the cousin comes over, and he's being a real jerk, and he ends up
he has mental illness.
He ends up impaling himself through the chest on a
broken wicket.
Yeah.
Or something from croquet.
On a croquet stick, which I guess is called a wicket.
It was the stake in the ground or something like that. I'm a married
straight man, but there you go.
I ain't no fop.
I ain't no fop. Yeah, and then there's a finale where...
Yeah, the ending was the most underwhelming. It's just like, okay, this is the ending that you expect. They destroy the doll and everything.
Well, I mean, the boy starts wearing a mask to make him look to like complete his evolution into the doll. Like, I am the doll. I wear the mask. I have the haircut. Look at my foppishness.
Sure. Yeah.
And then Katie Holmes. I'm sorry, Tom Cruise's ex.
Ex-Scientologist Katie Holmes,
or her husband, smashes the doll's face off, and beneath is some twisted, weird, kind of biological-looking form.
Yeah, like a rotting doll corpse head.
Yeah, and then they throw it in the furnace, but at the end of the movie,
and then there's a little cliffhanger epilogue. It's like, he's the boy. Jude's the boy. He's got a mask.
The boy is still evil. He's transferred his
still
evil.
Brahms.
He's transferred his evil.
Oh boy.
And that's Brahms.
That's Brahms the boy too. All right.
So wait, hang on. My final recommendation, or who would like this for this movie, if you're a fan of the first movie, don't see this. If you're a fan of horror or movies in general, don't see this. So, what about you, Bryce?
Yeah, definitely don't see it in the theater.
Yeah.
Sure. If you're a huge fan of the original boy, which I don't think has like a huge following or anything.
I'm not sure why this movie got a sequel.
If you're like, oh man, I love the boy so much, I wonder what happens next.
Yeah.
Then watch this movie and then realize, like, oh, I didn't really want to know that.
Yeah, and then cry.
Impressive. Very nice.
It's really not bad. It's just, it makes me feel nothing other than that one jump scare. It was scary.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Makes me want to go out and buy a suit, though.
Yeah, so...
Feather my hair like Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, fuck The Boy 2. And don't go see it.
I'm going to take that clip out of context.
No!
What do you want to do, David? Fuck The Boy 2.
God damn it. All right. So, with that, let's get into horror movie news.
This just in.
And so, please welcome Ben Warrington, our news guy. Yay!
Clappy, clappy, clap. Okay, Ben.
Thank you, guys.
Let's head into the news.
Yeah, what do you got for us?
So, since our last news feed that we had, the first thing I've come across, which is the low hanging fruit in the room, which is Spiral, the book from the Book of Saw. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer over the last few weeks.
Yeah, the remake with Chris Rock and Samuel L.
So we got a trailer, which was. What did you guys think of it?
I mean, it doesn't show much. It's got some spirals in it, but
it's got a lot of spirals. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm sure it's better than the movie Spiral that we reviewed before.
Oh, anything be better than that.
Is that from the guy that did the Hatchet series?
No, it's from the guy that did nothing before. It was just an independent movie. It was where we realized we do not want to review independent horror movies
ever.
Like, we want these things to be screened by studio executives.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways,
well, there is a few. Yeah, well, obviously we've got a release date now of May. I think it's different from the UK from what it is in America, but we're looking at about mid-May for the release. I think it's May the 14th or the 21st that you're going to get in the US. But yeah, from director Darren Boseman, who obviously did Saw 2 till 5, I believe. He's actually a very interesting guy. He's done a couple of other things since, but he's been called back. He's got the helm. Written by Chris Rock.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be directed by Chris Rock, but I guess he wrote it and has a part in it. Is that right?
Yes.
He's playing the chief detective in a story that revolves heavily around police officers, and his dad is played by Samuel L. Jackson as well, which I found out.
It sounds like we got kind of a poor connection, and that's on my side. Just be aware. Let's yeah, seeing I have a poor connection. I don't know what the deal is. Let's just head on. What's the next news item you got for us?
So next on the list we have Borderlands. Either of you two a gamer at all?
I played the first one a little bit.
Interested in video games?
Yeah, I played the first one probably all the way through, I think.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's more than what I've got, but I know that it's very popular. Borderlands has got a film coming out that has been... It's a Lionsgate film, and its director will be the one and only Eli Roth. So,
wow,
he's making a comeback.
Wow, that's a perfect series for Eli Roth. He's so 0 to 100 on his style, and Borderlands is nothing but very, very tremendously over the top and in every way. So that sounds like a good pair.
I think he appreciates some sort of artistic freedom that he wants in all of his films, and yeah, having a look into this, I think Borderlands will be a chance for him to sort of a bad relationship with him when I first started sort of reviewing his films and looking at him, but this is definitely a road that might be able to get back into the mainstream, might be able to impress a few more people.
Yeah,
but we'll see. That's one thing.
Cool. Yeah, sorry, Ben. We're getting like a weird in and out connection. But we'll trudge forward. What's the next thing you got for us?
Perfect. So next on the agenda we have, very relevant. Brent Bell has been given another feature to direct, and it's going to be the prequel to Orphan, which I'm pretty excited about. Just because I loved Orphan so much. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I liked Orphan pretty good, but just to clarify, Brent Bell is the guy who directed Brahms, The Boy 2, and The Boy. So relevant to this episode for sure. Bryce, what did you think about The Orphan?
That's one I haven't seen yet, but I've been recommended to watch it several times, so I need to see that one. That's the one. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking about. I don't think I've seen either one. I've been recommended The Orphanage, I think, which is like a
Spanish.
Yeah. Yes,
I think,
that's right.
I believe, yeah.
The Orphan's the one with
I reckon watch them both.
With the girl that's a woman, right? Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Spoilers. So also on the agenda we have the new horror film from A24, the company behind films like Hereditary and Midsommar. Midsommar was massive in the UK. Hereditary did just as well. Their new film this year is coming out next month. It's called Saint Maud. I don't know if you guys have seen a trailer for it. There is a trailer online. I'll make sure to pop that on the website for people to have a look at. But it looks really, really, really visceral and interesting.
Yeah, I haven't
have you seen any of this?
I haven't seen that. Well, Saint Maud, it rings a bell, but I don't think I've seen the trailer yet. I did see a trailer for Gawain and the Green Knight. I think that's through A24 as well, isn't it?
Yes, I have heard of that as well. Yes, I believe so. Let's see what I've got. A synopsis here is: Maud is a reclusive young nurse whose impressionable demeanor causes her to pursue a path of Christian devotion after an obscure trauma.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
She's the Christian caretaker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Yes, this movie looks like it's going to be really something else. I'm pretty excited because it looks like it's going to have a lot of interesting undertones and in kind of hot takes on touchy subjects like religion. So that'll be I'm kind of excited for this. When did you say it was scheduled to come out?
I've got it down as March. Let me just have a quick look in. I think obviously there is some discrepancies between the UK, US releases, Canadian releases, and all that jazz. But by the looks of it, it's got a good reception so far from its test audiences and things like that. So I'm pretty excited. The thing with A24 is they seem to really want to clock into human emotion and to things that are really relevant to the times in terms of depression, anxiety, and grief, and things like religion and cults and things like that. It sort of ties everything in together that popular culture is going through, and I think Saint Maud's going to be that as well.
Yeah, I think A24 has really hit an interesting stride in that it kind of allows smaller, allows scripts from less known people and smaller budget.
Wait, everyone be quiet.
Why?
Dang it. I thought I heard. I was timing out the smoke alarm.
Oh,
beeping.
Beep.
I was gonna say change that battery, Ben.
I know. Tell me about it. I'm so sorry.
But A24 has been backing basically small budget filmmakers who have interesting stuff to say, and it's not stuff that's only going to get greenlit from a big studio. So I appreciate what they're doing. And kind of Blumhouse is doing kind of the same thing to a little bit more annoying extent, but still similar.
Yeah, Blumhouse is more general audiences. A24 is skewing towards the art house stuff, which I appreciate. It's good to have both represented.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but they're both sort of springboarding these new directors. You know, you look at Flanagan, who's just done Doctor Sleep. These have all started from low budget dross films that have really, you know, they've shown their artistic talent from these low budget films, and you know, you're thinking of people like Ari Aster that A24 have endorsed, and Robert Eggers, who did The Witch and The Lighthouse. These films are going to propel these directors into some new territory, and you look at people like James Wan, who started with Saw. He's just, you know, he's directed Aquaman now, and that's the sort of road that these directors can go down, and it's all through these companies. So yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah,
me too. They've definitely helped horror in the most recent kind of revamping of kind of the horror genre. So
the final part of our newsfeed will be a little recommendation through Shudder. So you guys, I know, do a 30-day free Shudder trial if you go through Horror Movie Talk. I recommend doing that because this month is going to be a good one for additions to Shudder.
Yeah, what do we got?
So this month, there's a few. The Room is going on there. There's a few indie things, but the two main ones that I've focused on that are just going on this month will be Satanic Panic and Daniel Isn't Real. So Daniel Isn't Real has just finished a lot of festival runs. I went to go and see it at London Fright Fest last year, and it was incredible. And I think it's, you know, Shudder is the perfect place for it, and I would recommend anyone going to see that. So make sure you get on Shudder and use that promo code and get on that.
Yeah, HMT at checkout. Did you say The Room was going on there?
Yeah, see, this is the thing. I've seen that it's The Room, but it's not The Room.
It's
The Room that we all know and love. It's not Room either. No, it's called The Room. But it's not The Room, the Tommy Wiseau one, where he shouts at people over and over again.
And not Room with Brie Larson.
Right.
It's not Room with Brie Larson either. No. So it's another one called The Room that's been. I can't remember what year it came out.
I wonder if it's about The Room.
A prequel to The Room and Room called The Room. I'm not too sure. But that's about it, guys, for the news over here. It's been pretty steady, but we've got some good things coming up, definitely, and you'll be the first guys to know as soon as I know anything.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, Ben. Well, thank you very much for calling in all the way from England and
jolly old England.
Yeah, and thank you for keeping us in touch with horror movie news. This has been Horror Movie News.
And then here's the smoke alarm.
There it is.
There's the smoke alarm, exactly. Yeah, there it is. Perfectly on time.
Hey, Ben, thank you very much, and have a great day. Have a great week.
Yep.
Yeah, you too, guys. Thank you very much. I do apologise about this crappy sound effect. I mean, I didn't know it was like that until now.
It adds to it for me.
Yeah. All right. Have a good one, Ben.
Hey, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Make sure that you hop on over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes or wherever it is and give us a rating. You don't even need to write a review. Just rate it. And, you know, give us whatever you think is fair. We really, really, really need those reviews. So if you can help us out that way, we would appreciate it. Other ways you can help us out is by sharing this episode with a friend. You know, following us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or, you know, wherever, or YouTube even.
Yeah, we got Reddit, subreddit, our Horror Movie Talk. Yeah, check us out.
Check us out. And as always, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so through Patreon by going to horrormovietalk.com. At the top of the page, there's two buttons that help us out a lot. One is Patreon. You can unlock a bunch of exclusives, like a podcast that we're going to record right after this. And then the other way to support the show is through Amazon. Anytime you buy or rent anything on Amazon, click through the link on our website, bookmark that link, and just use it to buy, all of the products that you need to buy, like kitty litter and butt plugs.
Oil me up, Daddy. It's dinner time, and I'm a little soup boy, chompa chompa.
Special thanks to Ben Warrington for reading the news. Even though we did have a few glitches that I probably had to cut out, we sure do appreciate you calling all the way from across the pond.
You did great. Did great.
We appreciate your super sexy British voice.
Tickle your dickle.
Tickles my dickle. Anyway, so with that, you guys have a great week, and we love you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What are they trying to say? Hoodie Picasso? Hoodie Picasso?